Good morning, Michael Patrick Shields, heard all across the state of Michigan and seen on Fox 47 television. Very nice to have you with us this morning. How about Keith Ledbetter? Pretty good little volley he threw in there. He's the Director of Legislative Affairs for the Michigan Infrastructure and Transportation Association. He sent out an email saying that, yeah, maybe we ought to just cancel the gas tax in the state of Michigan, give everybody a little bit of a lift. It would be 24 cents in savings if the sales tax was lifted. I think the reason he's upset about it is that the Governor Snyder is not interested in putting any of that money toward the roads. They've got money for it, and so META is always lobbying for roads and always having a tough time when it comes to the gas tax. The Senate Democratic leader, Gretchen Whitmer, is with us this morning in the studio. How are you? Did you happen to see this poll that came out now? A new poll shows low support for Governor Snyder. Now, Epic MRA says, 60% of the voters rated the governor's performance as poor or just fair?
Well, I think that one of the most interesting things in that poll is that the support for the governor's tax and budget plan is very low. 70% of people against it. Mm-hmm. And that coincides with what we learned in all of our town halls across the state. People understand we're in a crisis. They're even willing to chip in, but not if it's going to pay for an unprecedented business tax break that has no link to jobs and no link to Michigan investments. So, those are numbers that I'm not surprised to see, actually.
You know what I don't understand, though? He was elected with a pretty good margin. He said this is what he was going to do, did he not, in his campaign? What are we surprised about?
No, he didn't say that's what he was going to do, Michael Patrick. I mean, that's one of the things, is he said very little in that campaign. He did not say, as soon as I get elected, I'm going to slash your schools and I'm going to tax your pensions in order to pay for a business tax break. He talked about a 6% flat tax on business, but he didn't say it was only going to be limited to C Corps, which are going to change, So I think that had he said exactly what he's proposed here, he might not be governor today.
So now that we look back and we see Verge Bernero, who was his opponent, jumping up and down saying, where are the details, that he was giving us the frothy 10-point plan, but that it was all sort of platitudes, and refused to debate, maybe these specifics would have surfaced had there been debates.
Maybe, and maybe they devised them after the election. Who knows? But the fact of the matter is that the substance of what he's proposed is going to have an indelible impact on our kids and our seniors and our working poor in the state of Michigan to fund this business tax break. And had people known that, maybe the outcome would have been different. But now that people do, they say we are not supportive of that.
Does this come down to, he did say he would run the state like a business. I mean, that's what we all presumed, right? Is this what it's like in the corporate world right now? The new CEO comes in and says, scratch off that, let's scratch off that, you department over there, you got to cut that, and that's all there is to it.
Well, I'm not a CEO, but I know a lot. I've got a lot of friends who are CEOs, and
sure.
I would say that anyone in business knows that you've got to make certain investments, and taking money out of schools, out of the workforce of tomorrow, out of the quality of life of the people who we want to draw to Michigan, is penny wise and pound foolish, and that as a cold CEO, analysis, I think anyone would conclude that those are metrics that bear out, that those are investments that you can see that they really make a difference, as opposed to this indiscriminate tax policy that he's proposing. And he acknowledges he can't point to any study that says this will create jobs in the state of Michigan or this will promote investment.
His tax plan passed the House, and looks like it's having big trouble in the Senate, true?
Well, we have 38 members in the state Senate. You need 20 votes to pass something, and you need 26 to give it immediate effect. Mm-hmm. So I think that they've got to struggle.
You don't have the 20 right now. They don't have the 20 right now, do they?
They have 26 Republican members, but I'm told that they are short of 20. Otherwise, I think we probably would have taken it by now.
Yeah. So what is it? The Republicans are leaning on the governor now to change it, make adjustments, accept some sort of compromise? Is that part of your effort too?
I think so, and I think they look at these numbers and they listen to their constituents the same way that we do, and we hear the same thing. People understand there's crisis; they're even willing to chip in, but only if it's going towards something that's really going to move the state of Michigan forward. So
We hear a lot about a cut of the earned income tax credit. Now, when people are listening and around the state and they're not inside the middle here, they maybe not know what that means. It's a bad name for what it really is. Can you describe what the earned income tax credit is?
sure, and there's a lot of misunderstanding about it. Even some people in the executive office said, "Oh, it's just a handout." Actually, it's the earned income tax credit. These are people who are working full time, but making hardly enough to make ends meet. And so, on the federal level, Congress gave this thing called the earned income tax credit, where they get, if they're below a certain threshold in income, that they get a tax break. Ronald Reagan actually called it the best pro-family, best pro-worker thing to come out of Congress while he was president. So Michigan enacted something that mirrors that. The governor's proposed eliminating it and saving $358 million, although it has major ramifications of pulling other federal money into Michigan. There's been changes. The House decided it would be $25 per kid. The Senate's version is more generous than that, but still a fraction of what we've had here in Michigan in the past.
Are the quadrant meetings still happening, or have they ever happened?
Well, we've had one quadrant meeting since the first of the year.
Okay.
Had a couple of one-on-one meetings with the governor, 10 minutes, I told you a couple weeks ago.
Yeah.
Pleasant, but not real substantive with regard to the budget and the things that we're facing right now. And the next quadrant meeting, I think, is scheduled for the end of the month.
You said that earlier that you felt that the budget would be settled by the 1st of June. But what makes you optimistic if there's such an impasse here on the Senate side of the budget?
Well, I mean, my hope is that we do the tax and the budget at the same time, concurrently.
Isn't that how it should be?
Well, ways and means should go together, absolutely. But we'll see how it plays out. It's a little more dicey on the tax side than we anticipated.
Well, thanks for dropping by this morning. Sure appreciate it.
Thanks, Michael Patrick.
All the best to you and those CEO friends and relatives of yours, too. 9 minutes before the hour, she's Senator Gretchen Whitmer, the Senate Democratic leader. I'm Michael Patrick Shields, back with the sports story and what happened to the Red Wings last night in just one little minute.